Hello, everyone. Welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 445. It's still hot in here. I finally finished my Suikoden 2 video. Contact is slipping. Hang on a second. This is gonna be disgusting. Sorry. Hang on. There we go. Oof. Uh, Finished my Suikoden video. Um, knowing that it's super hot, I filmed it very late at night after 11, and I was still pouring sweat. So, apologies for sweating at you in HD, which is something I'm doing now. But I have a possible solution that I'm going to be working on in the next week, so we'll see how that goes. Nevertheless, my video on Suikoden 2 is out, and you may be asking yourself, should I watch it? Well, Julia says yes. And if you get that joke, you already watched it, so thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing through the game. I had a lot of fun scripting and editing the episode, although gathering all the footage I need can be a bit of a pain in the ass, particularly when it's an RPG. you know? But no. Damon says, turn on AC. We aren't filthy Europeans. I have a fan over there, but when I'm recording a video for YouTube, I do turn the fan off because I could remove this. My microphone will pick it up a little bit, and I can remove the sound, but it ends up the sound ends up being a little tinny, and I don't like it. So maybe that's better than sweating in HD. I don't know, but I'm working on another solution, so we'll see what happens. Um, and the solution is dumping a bowl of ice down the front of my pants while I record. That ought to do it. I don't know if my couch is going to survive, but yeah. I mean, I shoot from here up, so it should be fine. So, that's correct. My apartment does not have AC. Um, and to be fair, a decade plus ago, it didn't need AC. But summers have just been getting hotter over the last several years, so boy, it would be nice if I had it now, but oh well. Let's see. Cass says Suikoden 3 and 4 are available on the PS3 store while it's still up. 5 is sadly trapped on the PS2. Huh. Um, and there's a Suikoden 2 anime, although I don't think it's called 2. I think it's just called Suikoden the anime, which apparently comes out this fall. So I really quite like the story of Suikoden 2. Well, except the ending. The ending did not bring me joy, but I did like the overall narrative. I think it's a big step up over the front one. And the video I did after Suikoden 1, I had a bunch of stuff that I talked about in the subsequent podcasts because I just didn't get to in the video. There wasn't room for it. I don't have much to talk about. I pretty much everything I wanted to say I said in the video. I didn't detail why I didn't like the ending because in order to explain why the ending doesn't work for me, I'd have to essentially just spend half an hour detailing the plot of the entire game to explain why it doesn't work. There isn't other than like it doesn't work from a narrative or character standpoint. It's like, well, what specifically do you mean? It's like, well, okay. Once upon a time, there was a boy named Rio and his friend Joey, and blah blah. I'd have to start at the beginning, work through the entire damn thing. So I didn't want to do that. I really wanted, particularly because as I was playing with the game, I was putting together the script in my mind. I'm like, oh, this is great. It's going to be a very positive video. I certainly have my critiques, but mainly it's wonderful to see that pretty much all of the criticisms I had with the first game have been addressed. Not always successfully, but definitely addressed. But then the ending hit, and I went, oh no. And I didn't want to make a video where I was just bitching about the ending. I really wanted to talk about how I felt the game sought to improve over its predecessor, and mostly did. Um, there were few areas I think it fell short, but overall, I think two was a success. Really, the only thing I didn't talk about in the video is some of the music is bad. Not all of it, not even most of it, but some of it is just like ear-splittingly terrible. And sadly, for my money, the worst track in the entire game is the theme that plays in your headquarters. Oh my god, it's so terrible. Um, so I didn't get that just didn't fit in the script anywhere, so I left that out. Um, that's about it though. I didn't really have much else to talk about, so yeah, managed to fit it in. So huzzah! Get it portable. Well, I mean, I do. You can see it over there under the window, and so that has a hose that goes out the window. The problem is they changed my window 2 years ago or something like that, and now it opens on this side, which means my hose would go over my desk and out the window, and that's just not going to work. Also, it is insanely expensive to run the air conditioner, and my energy bill is literally 3 times what it was a few years ago. My energy bill used to be about $35 to $40 a month. Now it's routinely around like 120 or so. And that's without running that damn thing. Like back in the day when I actually used to run that sucker during the summer, when I could plug it into the nearer side of the window, it tripled my power bill. I was paying up to like $50, $60. Um, that's not triple. It was like doubling my power bill. Um, that's not, it's still not double, but it was really increasing my power bill. So I really don't want to run it because it would probably make my electricity like $160 a month or something like that. So yeah. Still looking forward to Star Wars Zero Company and the second chapter thing. My video didn't freeze, did it? Hang on a second. Beat up, beat up, beat up, beat up. Anyway. Oh, and if anyone's wondering about the Julia voice, that is me. The only vocal effect is I added some reverb um to make it sound like the voice is like echoing and coming from like everywhere in the room. Other than that, I did try to do a voice with a more feminine sound, but I can't. You know, I can try talking in a higher register. I can use the falsetto, but it just sounds stupid. So I just went, oh, okay. So all I did was I spoke in my regular register and I just raised my palate as high as I could and then spoke all up in my throat and face through a real heavy whisper. The hardest part of doing that voice is it uses a lot of air. It's only one line, but man, it uses a ton of air. Getting through the entire line in one breath, very difficult. Um, and then it was just a matter of doing kind of a weird cadence with my delivery to make it sound, in a way no actual human being would talk. So that's how if anyone was curious how I arrived at the Julia voice, there you go. Um, all right, so here's a story. Friday of the week before last, so not yesterday, but the week before, was leg day. So For that particular leg day, I decided to do walking lunges with weights. Now, I live in a residential area right outside the window that I just showed is a side street that slopes downhill for about a quarter of a mile. Um, so I strapped on all my weights. Well, not the wrist weights. I did my weight vest, my ankle weights, and then I strapped or I held quarters, plates. Like you see the plates, these kind of plates. So 25-pound plates. I did have straps to help take the strain off my fingers if I started losing grip strength, but so I'm carrying weights. I have ankle weights. I have I keep wanting to say chest weight, and it's not what it's called. It's a weight vest. Um, so I grab that stuff, walk down to the bottom of the hill, and then start lunging back up it. I've done that plenty of times. It takes like 35 or so minutes to lunge all the way back up. It's a good workout. I made it about a third of the way up, and I stressed my right glute and one of the small muscles on the front side of my right hip. And that sucks. So I'm like, oh, well, okay, I'm gonna have to haul all this shit all the way. So I couldn't lunge. I had to just kind of walk. So I mean that's still exercise. I'm essentially doing it's more just like a forearm and shoulders. It's just kind of more like a farmer walk than it is you know glutes and quads and stuff like that. So I had to haul that shit up the hill. It was fine, as long as I wasn't lunging, I wasn't stressing the muscles that I had stretched or possibly slightly torn my hip. So anyway, I took it pretty light for the weekend. I just worked on some light cardio on that Saturday and Sunday. Monday rolls around, I'm like, okay, time to do some recovery, some leg therapy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it smart. I'm going to do non-weighted static lunges right here in my living room. Not going uphill. I'm not going to travel. I'm just going to stand in place, lunge forward, lunge back. No weights, not putting on the weight vest, not doing the ankle weights, not holding the plates, not holding dumbbells, just regular static unweighted lunges. Somewhere around rep 70, my hip emitted a popping sound that was even louder than my subsequent anguished scream. I didn't know a hip could make that noise. But I went, ouch! And it was louder than that. Age, man. Age. So I'm like, okay. No more lunges for today. Resistance bands only, because ow. It's been 5 or 6 days, and I'm fine. I can walk. I still have mobility, but yeah, if I go into a deep lunge, it's still pulling pretty hard. So I'm thinking I probably have like a decent muscle tear going on. My glute's fine, but that one of those small front facing hip muscles that are way up above the quad, like near your hip. I forget what they're iliacris pleuris nervus, whatever they're called. I've never learned all the muscle names. Yeah, I probably have a minor tear in one. It's gonna take a few weeks to heal. So, age, man, it's an adventure. So, Eth Demon says, I'm lazy. I just do 7K to 10K steps a day, and that's about it. hey, it's better than sitting and doing nothing. So we have a at work we have what we call a lunch and meet. I'm like, why isn't it lunch and learn? But anyway, it's what we do is we our team take turns hosting essentially little seminars to talk about different changes to the various applications because we're all working on different stuff. And for example, I worked on a change to the retirement flow where the retirement flow will skip the verification step in certain circumstances. And I felt it was important for the team to know that in case they, particularly our automation team, because if they don't know that, they're going to wonder why the hell some of their automated scripts are not working. Um, but one of my and I cleared this with my manager. I'm like, but one of my upcoming sessions is going to be just kind of health focused, very small, cheap weight. Like this weight set behind me, that's hundreds of dollars of equipment. Not everyone has the money or the space, but resistance bands, little squishy balls, those are as cheap as you can get, and they can be very, very valuable, particularly if you have a job like mine, which requires you to sit at a desk in front of a computer all day. So yeah, getting even if all you do is get your steps in, that's still doing something. If all you have the time or the energy for is to just go for a walk, uh, that can be valuable. I'm lazy. I have to force myself to work out. Like I make sure that I go on it, a walk every day at least. I mean, I always use it for same path I use for my like warm ups and cool downs, but it's important, particularly just to move, right? You don't need to bench press 300 pounds. You just need to stand up and move around, which, because of the way a lot of us work and live, is something that can get away from us very easily if we're not paying attention. Like, again, my job, if I don't make an effort to stand up every once in a while, like I keep I work over there. You saw my workstation. I keep my email over here, so I'm constantly getting up and walking back and forth and not just sitting there all day, right? Just you do what you can. Um, Sounds like I should go see a doctor. If it's something that doesn't heal by it, said the hip thing, yeah. If it's something that it's only been a week, so if it's something that doesn't heal itself, that I feel it isn't making improvement, then I will. But I was doing some lunging stretches today, and I can still feel it pull, but it's not like painful or anything. It's not making me go oh like it was last week. So it's getting better. So I think it's healing by itself. Hey, Chicago. Chaos says, at least you weren't like my idiot coworker who climbed up the warehouse racking and fell, fracturing his hip. Ooh, fracturing hip's no fun. Yeah. Please tell that coworker I'm workman's comp. Yeah. Perks of being at a physical gym and not a home gym. Yet, for a lot of people, especially, just being at when I worked out at gyms, uh, that was the motivator for me. It's like I'm paying for this. I'm damn well gonna go. Um, but I know a lot of people many people that's not good enough, right? It's like I have this subscription to a gym. They deduct money from my checking account every month, and I just don't go as often as I should. Me, I'm a cheap son of a gun, so if I'm paying for something, I'm using it. Um, Climbing or racking, it's what the forklifts are for. Just stand on the forks and lift up. It's all in the name. So Sony has been in the news. I don't know if you've noticed. It's been kind of a yet a 11th page item, but not to beat a dead horse, I did want to point out a couple of things that caught my interest. One of them was Doom. The DLC for Doom: The Dark Ages came out this week. Coincidentally, on the same day that Microsoft fired a bunch of people from ID Software. So, um, hmm. Oh, I mean, Ubisoft did the same damn thing. The new Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake came out. A lot of people really like it. It's like one of, if not the best selling or fastest selling Assassin's Creed titles in a while or ever, or whatever the metric was. And Ubisoft was just so tickled that they fired a bunch of people from Ubisoft Montreal. So, yeah, it sucks. Anyway, I like Doom. I like Doom: The Dark Ages. I was looking to see what the DLC cost, and I looked a little bit too early because the DLC wasn't available yet, but they did have the deluxe upgrade edition, and that includes the skin pack, which is kind of an odd perk for a first-person shooter. Granted, there's a bunch of cutscenes. You do see the Doom guy or the Doom Slayer quite a bit, but it's also like it's one skin. It's one skin for Doom Slayer, one for the dragon thing that he rides, and one for the big Rock'em Sock'em robot thing that he pilots around in like two missions. And it's not even that cool of a skin. It's just like kind of white. I don't know. I wasn't terribly impressed. And then there's I think a soundtrack and something else. Anyway, so I was reading the game info and to see all what was in this $35 upgrade package. And it says it includes the base game, the campaign DLC, digital art book and soundtrack, and the Divinity skin pack, which I remind you is one skin. Three, but for three different characters. For, again, a first person shooter. Uh, Granted, when you're flying on the dragon, it's in third person, so there you go. Then I noticed that at the bottom it says it includes the base game, asterisk. And if you go down, it goes base game required, sold separately. Well, if it's sold separately, then it doesn't include it, does it? Sony, who wrote this? Was it id Software? Was it Sony? Did you use generative AI to write your game info section? Uh, Goofy stuff. PlayStation is still dead to me, says Chaos. Yeah, I'm not particularly pleased with Sony either. If Demon says, hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but the era of maintaining 400-person teams are over. The future, it will be scaling up, down, outsourcing, contracting. It's not economically rational. Still people's livelihoods, and they're still being very carefree with it, and it keeps happening all the time. If you can't sustain it, well, you shouldn't do it in the first place. I think all these managers and executives should lose their job for mismanaging. You know, if you're managers and executives cumulatively are pulling in hundreds of millions of dollars, then start chopping your own goddamn salaries until you need to lay people off. But, not a lot of worker protections, so. But yeah, I get it. It's like, we overspent, we gobbled up all the studios, we overstaffed them. It's like, well, great, then it's on you. Take responsibility. And their idea of that is like, oh, well, yeah, we're just laying everybody off. That sucks. Jared says that's my favorite when they ask you to buy something for hundreds of dollars and they can't even give you a copy of the game. You either die as Sega's Chaos, or you live long enough to see yourself become PlayStation. Yeah, I mean, like they had to remember the whole this, dunking on Xbox at the time with the whole this is how you share. They had to know we would all be sharing that clip or an image of it. It's like, but corporations are not people and they have no shame. They genuinely do not care. Um, Now, I'm a physical media guy. You can see all the physical media behind me. I'm also middle aged. Um, I will always be sad about a switch to digital media. If physical completely goes the way of the dodo, or at the very least is only a very niche market, it's very boutique, that will make me sad. But, like Jared was saying, economics. Sony has the opportunity to not be the biggest gaming villain ever. Um, while I will always be sad if Sony goes, we're just not doing physical discs anymore, but we are changing things so that you actually own the digital media that you purchase from us, right? The problem isn't entirely physical media all by itself. It's the fact that, they control everything, including the thing that you bought, which, even though they keep saying that you're buying stuff, you're purchasing stuff, they're leasing a license that they can revoke at any time, which they've demonstrated. There was the movies that they just took away from people who bought them. They can turn off stores and stuff like that. If Sony, came out there, in a year or two, comes out there and says, "We figured it out. We're not going to do physical media anymore," and we know that makes Andrew particularly very sad, but we have engineered a way to ensure that you own your digital media. We don't have any rights to the games that you purchase from us. If they solve that, I'll still be sad about physical media, but I'd be okay. I might even buy a PSA, not for over $1,000 probably, but you know, I might not turn up my nose and walk away. Are they going to do that? Oh, I don't believe so. Not at all. Because it's not entirely a, or at least my perception is, I'm not in the room where it happened, but my perception is it's not entirely a monetary thing. It's like, look, it just doesn't make any fiscal sense for us to keep doing physical media. I mean, that's part of it, sure, but we hate physical media because we don't want you to own stuff. We can't control that. It's greed and power. It's money and power. They want money and control. And for now, they can have my middle finger. A lot of people are going to turn their back on Sony. Not enough. I don't think. Yeah, there's a backlash, but Sony knew there'd be one. But there's a lot going on. We're just gonna get over it. And most people, some won't. Some will be like, I'm gonna stick with Nintendo because they're the least awful. Or I'm going PC. I'll buy all my stuff from good old games. I don't know. It sucks. Sony's downfall began when Jim Ryan was placed in charge, and while he no longer is, we are now seeing the effects. Yeah, there's been just a lot of horrific mismanagement over the last 6 or 7 years. Um, uh, yeah, it just sucks. I think one of the if I had to guess, I would say at least part of the reason that Nintendo is at least perceived, rightly or wrongly, as the least bad of them, is Nintendo is really the only one who comes across as genuinely liking video games. You don't get that from Sony or Microsoft. You don't get the sense that any of them give even the remotest shit about video games. This is just an opportunity to make money. They don't care about art. They don't care about video games. They don't even care about their own goddamn employees. Completely disposable things that make them money. Video games are just things that make them money. Employees are annoying because you have to pay them. And they always want stuff like protections and health care. And they complain when you do crunch, and it's so annoying. Just shut up and make the stuff that makes me rich. God damn it. Jeez. What do you mean art preservation? Once we've sold it, I don't give a shit. Yeah, they just do not care. Or at least that's the perception they give. Nintendo, on the other hand, you get a sense that they are actually passionate about this stuff. Still a business, still into making money, but actually passionate about video games. True about, yeah. It is also, I can't say shit since all my games are on Steam, so digital. I mean, yeah, there's a. I don't think digital media is bad, but the problem, one of the things that really bothers me is Sony lying about how. I forget exactly how they phrased it. I don't have it in front of me, but how they're acting like removing choice is giving choice. It's like, no, that's the opposite. You know, the nice thing about Steam or any of these other digital platforms is, there are a lot of games like Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake, whatever it is. I can buy it on Steam, but I can also buy a physical copy if that's what I want. I have that choice. I like having that choice. I don't begrudge anyone buying digital copies. It is certainly more convenient. That's a lot of stuff behind me. And there's more of it. I got shelves in my room too. I got another shelf over there full of video games. That's just all my movies. Well, not all of them. Some of them are in my bedroom too. You know? I think as I mentioned earlier, I think if we owned our digital media ownership were solved, it would be less of an issue. Right? I'm sure people miss horse-drawn carriages because horses are neat. This is a really terrible analogy. But you got to evolve with the times. It's not really safe to have them on the freeway, there's some, backcountry roads that you could still drive a horse and buggy around. But for the most part, you just don't see those these days. Time marches on. But, at least I own my goddamn car, But you can lease a car, but you can own the car, too. I got a title and everything. I can sell my car. I could just leave it in the parking lot and let it rot. Although there's probably something in my leasing agreement that says I can't let a rotting car sit in my space, something like that. But flawed analogy, but I hope you're getting what I'm saying. So, yeah, Jared says we like show and tell. Yeah, I constantly get up. Oh, hey, look at this thing I have. Hard to do that with digital games. I like displaying stuff. I like showing stuff off. I sometimes I just browse my library stuff and just see what I have. And I did that. I just did that on the Last Movie Mandates podcast I recorded with my sister, because we watched a movie that I picked up on the twist like pretty early on. And one of the only reasons I did is, one, I'm, in my 40s, I've seen a lot of movies, but I'd seen a Korean film from like 10 years before that does the same thing, has essentially the same twist. And so I got the DVD off my shelf and I'm like, "Hey, Kelly, here's this Korean film from 2003. What do you think the twist might be?" And she's like, "Oh, is it the same as the movie we saw?" It's like, yeah, that's how I figured out what the twist was, because I've seen it before. So we watched an Austrian film from like 2012 or 2014 or something like that. And I was like, oh, wait, I think I know what the twist is, because this is just like that Korean film from 2003. So, but if I only owned a digital copy of it, I wouldn't have a thing to hold. And that's not as fun. Oh well. The other thing I wanted to talk about, which I thought was pretty funny, is I was casting my mind back into the days of yore, uh, when the kind of the worst stuff we had to worry about from Sony and Microsoft was just uber goober stuff that they would do during their E3 presentations. Oh man, there are some, the memes live on. Like if I said giant enemy crab, you would all know what the hell I'm talking about. That's from a very infamous presentation from Sony in their E3 2006 press conference. In fact, attack the weak point for massive damage, that comes from the exact same press conference. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, yeah, isn't it nice? Of course, I think that was also the same year where, was it Ken Kusanagi? Where they announced the $600 price of the PS3, and people were like, it's a little expensive. And he's like, yeah, you should be proud, happy to get a second job to afford this. And it's like, this is not the way. I every PR person's butt just clenched. It's kind of like, you remember was it Don Matrick, I think, was being interviewed by Jeff Keighley, I think, after they announced the Xbox One and how it's going to be always online and always watching. And Keighley was saying, like, it's like, okay, so it's always online. So what would you say to people who, like, are in the military and moving around a lot, or can't afford an internet thing, or live in more rural areas where internet doesn't exist yet, or any other of legitimate issues people could have where they just can't be online all the time? And Matrick was like, well, we've got the Xbox 360. And Keeley just kind of like stares at him for a second, like, that's your message? If you don't like it, buy a 360. You know? Buy it. If you don't like it, buy a different console. And it's like, did you fire all your PR guys? Please stop. I have no idea why these companies always put, for some reason, again, with Nintendo, it always worked. I mean, Reggie Fils-Aimé, Shigeru Miyamoto, Satoru Iwata, when he was alive, none of them were great presenters. They're big old dorks. But they actually came across, and maybe it's just great acting skills, or maybe it was just me, but they came across as passionate, genuinely liking this stuff. Still big old dorks. And not without their embarrassing failures. Like, remember the Wii music reveal? Oh, that was painful. Oh man, that was just embarrassing. It's like, oh man, this was 20 years ago, and I'm feeling the embarrassment still. These these poor grown ass adults. on stage with their Wii remotes. Ah, tweedly tweedly. I feel so bad for them. Oh, how embarrassing. But the point I wanted to make was I was thinking about the giant enemy crab attack its weak point for massive damage. The reason that was so funny is they were showing off a video game with, you know, samurai and like the, I don't know, Sengoku period somewhere, kind of a war battle kind of a thing, and they had introduced it as realistic, and they had talked about uh, this being a you know, these battles were based on real battles that actually happened in history. So these are historically true battles. And then like a minute later, giant enemy crab. Yep. Those realistic battles of history where we fought the giant enemy crabs. And the weak attack its weak point for massive damage. The reason that was funny is because that was among a list of features that they were bragging about. They were talking about this game features revolutionary innovations like attacking a weak point for massive damage, which is like, no, that's just a standard thing. I forget what all. Another one was something like real-time weapon switching, which, again, not an uncommon thing in video games even at the time. Um, and oh golly. So I was thinking about that moment, and I was trying to remember what game that was. And I felt kind of bad that I remembered Giant Enemy Crab. I remembered um, attack its weak point for massive damage. And again, do you remember when DVDs would list, you'd turn the DVD box of the DVD over and you'd look at the special features, and sometimes it would list stuff like interactive menus and chapter stops. It's like, this is a standard damn thing on every DVD. What are you doing? That was exactly what they were doing. Oh, standard, you know, attack its weak point for masters of damage. You can switch weapons. Anyway, I was trying to think of what the game was. I felt kind of bad because I remembered why it was an embarrassing demonstration, but I couldn't remember what the game was. I could see it in my mind, but I couldn't remember what the game was. So I looked it up, and it's Genji, Days of the Blade. And Chaos has it. Game was Genji. And I was like, I don't remember that at all. It wasn't even oh yeah, that's it, good old Genji. Which, not only did I not remember poor Genji, and again, I feel so bad that this poor game is remembered for Giant Enemy Crab. Attack its weak point for, like, I don't know how many people actually remember this game. I looked it up. I'm like, did it actually come out in North America? Yes, it did. You know what else did? It's prequel. There's 2 of these. I didn't even know that. So, yeah, there's Genji, Days of the Blade, and Genji. There's some other subtitle, but last poor Genji, we hardly knew ye. Kind of an ignominious reputation. It's all anyone remembers it for. Like, no one remember, not no one, but few people actually remember the game, but they remember the Giant Enemy Crab. But I kind of miss the era when stuff like that was some of the worst stuff you could expect from these corporations. You know, we weren't usually hearing about thousands of layoffs every single year. Maybe it was happening and we just weren't hearing about it, but I'd much rather weird, goofy gaffes like that than hearing about, oh, yeah, we had a bunch of sex pests on our payroll. Don't worry, we moved them somewhere else. Ubisoft. Or we've just, fired everyone, or, yeah. That's not as fun. No one ever laughs about the layoffs. Well, I'm sure the really rich people do, but, you know, Giant Enemy Crab is funny. Attack its weak point for massive damage is funny. The Wii music presentation was funny. Konami, back in, I think that was, I think it was, might have been 2006 again, where they had that guy who was clearly, like, buzzed on cocaine or something. I don't know what was going on. Oh, man, that was a show. Ah, yeah. Good times. So if you're a younger viewer, if you're like, in your 20s, you're like, what the hell is this old guy talking about? Yep. Sony dominated the PS1 says Chaos and PS2 eras, and that led to the PS3. And while they did rebound, it wasn't as successful. Xbox shot themselves in the foot with the Xbox One reveal and never really recovered. That's right. Sony, Nintendo, I've always said it's hubris. Nintendo got high on its own supply, started huffing its own farts with the, success of the Super NES, screwed over Sony and Panasonic, and was going to make its dream team with the Nintendo 64, and we're going to have, proprietary cartridges and all this stuff, and I've disconnected. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, the you should be PS3. New architecture, hard to develop for, $600. You should be happy to get 2 jobs. And then Xbox 360 ate its lunch. Then Xbox got high on its own supply and said, hey, we can require it to always be online and always have an online camera pointed in your living room with a microphone. And everyone went, yeah, no, that ain't going to happen. And then Sony took the baton back again. And Nintendo kind of had the same problem around the same time because they were on a different field, but were exceptionally successful with the Wii. And they're like, haha, we don't need to even try anymore. And it's like, no, you do. And it's one of the reasons why the Wii U just face planted, which is a shame. There's a lot of great games on it, but hubris. So will Sony's hubris bite it in the ass? Or are they too powerful? They just control too much for it to matter at this point. We'll see. So, the last thing I wanted to talk about was an anime I watched yesterday, I think. First episode of an anime. I believe it's called My Stepmother and Stepsisters Aren't Wicked. Now, I saw a preview for this. I think it was entirely in Japanese and didn't have English subtitles. But what I could divine from the trailer was this is an anime riff on Cinderella, where the joke is the stepmother and the stepsisters are overbearing, but incredibly thoughtful, loving, nice people. Like, little Cinderella is like, oh gosh, a wicked stepmother is gonna beat me with a cat o' nine tails. No, she is going to smother you with her love. It's not hentai. At least not according to the first episode. And I thought, okay, that's kind of funny, where we're, subverting the expectation of the stepsisters. It's like, oh, you coming into our house in those filthy rags, and she's like, oh gosh, I'm a poor person in a rich person's house. What am I going to do? And they grab her and immediately bathe her and brush her hair and dress her up like with their own clothes and stuff. And she's like, eh? What the hell? Not what I was expecting. I'm like, okay, that's a funny gag. So I saw the first episode yesterday. Chaos says the Wii U wasn't arrogance; it was just Nintendo misread the market. I I would say there were. I would say arrogance. There was an element of we can do whatever we want. We can do something super weird. We can it can be as weird as we want it to be. It can be as technology doesn't matter at all. I I think you're exactly correct in that they misread that, but I think part of the reason they misread that was at least partially arrogance.